Oh, Tinker Tailor. I'd better cancel that order for Tinker Toys and night vision goggles. Oh, hello. You know, I was out for a walk the other day, taking a stroll through the... I'm sorry, this is too distracting. I've just discovered that these bagels are 100% vegan. Vegan bagels. Oh, everything bagel. You're everything I've ever wanted. Where's the cream cheese? Vegan everything bagel should have vegan cream cheese on it. This is more like a hardly anything bagel. What am I going to do? I can't make vegan cream cheese. Can I? Let's see. Bear with me. I drink coffee with bagels. People put cream in their coffee, cream cheese, okay. I put cashew milk or cashew cream in my coffee. Cashew cream cheese. That's it. Cashews are the answer. Tonight, we're making vegan cream cheese.
You'll need plain raw cashews. Whole cashews will give you the best result, but cashew pieces will work just fine. The only other essential ingredient is water. You will probably also want to add some salt and a little bit of vinegar. You can use plain white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, or whatever you have on hand. Most recipes for this call for apple cider vinegar, and that's what I'm using today. It does have a distinct flavor that you might not like, but I would recommend it if you're making sweet cream cheese. You have a choice between making this sweet or savory. If you want to make it sweet, just add about a tablespoon of sugar or so to this recipe, and the spices of your choice, such as cinnamon or nutmeg. You can also add a handful of fruit, such as blueberries or diced peaches. I'm making a savory cashew cream cheese today, and the only seasoning I'm adding is dried chives. You could also try onion and garlic powder, roasted garlic, curry powder, or whatever takes your fancy. The first step is to soak the cashews, so place a cup of cashews into a container with enough water to cover them well, then cover it with a towel or something to keep out dust. Let them soak for at least 4 hours. Letting them sit overnight is a good method. 8 to 12 hours is about ideal, but I wouldn't soak them for longer than about 12 hours. If they sit for too long, stuff will start to grow on them. After you've soaked the cashews, drain them well and rinse them under cold water. You don't have to power wash them, just give them a good rinse and then drain them again. Once that is done, you'll need to choose your equipment. You can use a food processor for this, but I prefer to use a blender. In my experience with this recipe, it makes a smoother, creamier product. So, into the appliance of your choosing, add the entire cup of soaked cashews and a little bit of water. I would say no more than 1/4 of a cup. You want to add some water, but since we're making vegan cream cheese, we want this to be thick. Too much water will thin it out, and it's much easier to make this stuff thinner as you go than thicker. Now, I'm using the Puree setting on high, but blenders and blender settings vary, so you might need to experiment to find the setting that works best for you. You can add these at the very beginning, but I usually give the blender at least a few pulses before I add the salt, the vinegar, and, if I'm making it sweet, the sugar. Now, you can omit the salt and the vinegar if you're adding sugar, or if you just want to leave them out, but they are things that help to make this more like cream cheese. As for measurements, for a cup of cashews, I use 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of vinegar. If you add sugar, you might want to start with as little as a teaspoon and then increase it according to your tastes. As far as herbs and spices go, those measurements will depend entirely on what you're using. Something like cloves you would want to use no more than 1/4 teaspoon of, but when I add the chives to this, I'll use an entire tablespoon. It's really a matter of personal taste. Now this recipe can easily be halved, doubled, or even trebled, and you can use that itself as a safety net. Say you soak 2 cups of cashews, but you only start blending with 1. Then, if you happen to overseason, you can add more cashews and keep adjusting until you have it just the way you want it. Now, depending on the power of your blender, it will probably take at least a few minutes to get this to the desired consistency. It's a good idea to stop the blender every so often to scrape down the sides and give it a little stir. Once it is as smooth as you want it to be, Then you can add your seasonings. You can add them earlier if you like, but it is a good idea to first get it to the consistency that you desire. Also, I wanted the chives to retain some of their chively shape. So, I'm adding the tablespoon of chives now, giving the blender a few more pulses, and then pouring the mixture into a container. This turned out a little thinner than I would have liked, but only just. It's not quite cream cheese, but it's a good analog. You can apply this to crackers, bagels, or directly to the mouth.
Tune in next time for information on something else.